Palantir is unorthodox. I know he's not normal, but fuck normal. Who wants a normal CEO? We've seen what Frank Slootman did with Snowflake. We'll talk about Snowflake in a second. The big bad Snowflake that was supposed to be way better than Palantir. We'll talk about that in a second, like I promised. So yes, Alex Karp, the founder, CEO of Palantir, who's been in this business and dedicated his life for this company, who's been there for 20 years, is unorthodox. And sure, he may have opinions that you guys don't agree with, and I don't care. Neither does he. That's the whole point. Alex Karp does not care what you think about his opinions, or in fact, what you think about him or his company. He's going to say and do whatever he thinks is the right thing. That's why he's supporting Israel. That's why he's saying what he's saying. He does not care. Now look, the fact of the matter is that despite him being unorthodox and not normal, what the fuck normal is anyway, he's delivering results. He's the founder. He's been there for 20 years. Look at the results he delivered the past 20 years. Look at the force of nature this guy is, and look at the fact that he has principles. He wouldn't sell for $1. I like that. And that is the reason that Palantir is worth, in my opinion, a lot more than it's currently trading for. Now look, right now we're witnessing the change in the whole paradigm of how Palantir operates in the commercial side of things. Now Palantir has conquered the military side, Department of Defense. They understand that Palantir is a must. On the commercial side, we've seen this problem with Palantir marketing. Basically what you've seen is that Palantir had trouble getting in through companies because you need a point of contact. That point of contact usually spent a lot of the company's money on a solution that Palantir comes in and potentially wants to replace. We have something that's cheaper, better, etc., etc. There's a lot of ego, a lot of politics, and a lot of blocking by point of contacts in a lot of these companies who don't let Palantir in. That was the reality up until 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, I told you in the video, I told you, one point this whole thing is going to flip over. Because the cost of not bringing on Palantir is going to be way more significant than the cost of losing your job. Because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is that certain competitors will use Palantir. They're going to outperform you. They're going to drive you out of business. And if you don't bring Palantir in to match, you're going to lose your job and this business is going to collapse. Quite simple. And it's literally what's happening. It started with Airbus, how Airbus literally overtook Boeing by just doing one simple thing, which is using Foundry and using basically Skywise to absolutely change the way they assemble planes, the whole supply chain, the management of the fleet. Go research Skywise and how Skywise completely transformed Airbus into what it is today, and now compare Skywise to what's going on with Airbus and Boeing. Now, look, don't sleep on the government business as well. I've just mentioned that they've conquered it. Hey, it's still growing at like 15-16% per year. The top 20 clients on the government side are paying a lot of money for Palantir. I'm talking about 20, 30, 40 million a year from these clients. Now, I invest in Palantir in one simple reason. I like industry leaders. That's why I like Nvidia, that's why I like Tesla, and that's why I like Palantir. All those companies are quasi-monopolistic. And I like the fact that they have massive growth. Now, don't get me wrong, that 21% is not what I'm talking about. That 21% is meaningless. 21% year-over-year revenue growth they got right now is bullshit. I don't care about that. I look at the 1,000 boot camps they had over the past year. I look at the 42% customer growth. I look at the 87, 1 million or more deals they've signed just in the first quarter of 2024. Now look, they also have a lot of growth in the institutional holding. A lot of people are sleeping on this. When Palantir was unknown, when Palantir was kind of under the radar, one of the main knocks on it was that there's not enough institutional shareholding in this company. Only 30% a couple years ago. Right now it's at 42% and it's climbing by the minute. As you're being told by mainstream media to stay away from this company, institutional shareholders are buying like crazy. In 2021, in fact, in Q2 of 2021, literally 3 years ago, we had 400 million shares held by institutionals. Right now, more than double. Now, we ran Palantir through our scorecard on Stock MVP, stock-mp.com. It came out with 85. It's the same score we have for Nvidia and for Tesla. They've only lost points on two things. Number one, the institutional shareholding is below 50%, and it's going to get there very, very soon. And also, their PE is above 30. Oh my God. Now, another thing is the PE. Look at their current PE. If the current PE is 176, oh my God, stay away from it. Look at the forward PE. Don't look at the current PE. The forward PE is not the past. It is what you need to be looking at. The forward PE for Palantir is 60. It's still premium, but it's 60. It's not 176. Now, give it another quarter, another 2 quarters, another year. That thing is going to come down to 40, maybe then to 30. It's going to catch up with its valuation. It's just a question of time. Now, look at the operating income. Over the past year, Palantir grew its operating income by 267%. You heard me right. 267% increase in operating income in a single year. At the same time, your favorite stock, Snowflake, has lost 26% in operating income. Net income is up 219% in the past year. Snowflake lost 8% in that same time frame. Debt down 16%, which means Palantir repaid 16%. Snowflake increased its debt by 9%. Forward PE of Palantir is 60. Forward PE of the value Warren Buffett Snowflake is 128. Snowflake is literally selling for more than double, with a declining business, a zero mode, and a low ticket item, while Palantir has the keys to the future. And that's why my price target, based on my extremely conservative model, which means my worst case analysis for Palantir in 5 years, 2029 price targets, bear case 42. That's a 78% in 5 years. Not bad. Medium case, $94 per share. That's a 300%. And my bull case is 146 per share by 2029. That's a 517% in 5 years. I'll take it. And of course, if you haven't yet, we invite you to join our Discord. It's free. Discord.gg/Tom Nash. Join our 11,000 member Discord. Talk about Palantir. Talk about other stocks. We would love to see you there. And if you want to take the next step, join the Academy at Patreon. Patreon.com/Tom Nash. Would love to see you there as well. We have a growing list of students who are learning how to be a better long-term investor. And if you haven't yet, check out Stock MVP, a platform to analyze stocks like Palantir, which I've built for you, the retail investor, at a fraction of the cost of other tools. Stock-mp.com. Check it out, try it out for 1 week for free before you commit to it. Thank you so much. Go Palantir. Love Alex Karp. I'll see you in the next video.
This isn't a gamble. Yep.
Story centers on incredible allegations of spying on a scale never before imagined. It involves America's Central Intelligence Agency selling computer programs to foreign nations. These programs allegedly allowed the CIA to spy on the intelligence agencies that bought it. And one of the purchasers was Australia. We've been able to track down 2 key witnesses to those dealings, witnesses who are now in fear of their lives. Michael Holmes reports.
It may be the most bizarre spy story ever. A story of corruption and betrayal at the highest levels of the American government. A story of hostages used as pawns. Of the CIA spying on its friends. Of murders made to look like suicides.
I think it's about time to get the whole story out.
His name is Ari Ben-Menashe. He's a former Israeli intelligence agent.
Once it's out, there's no reason to hurt me physically anymore.
And today, he is hiding in Australia, in fear, he says, of his life.
So many people in the last 10 years who were working for the various governments on these issues, due to cover-ups, died mysteriously.
He claims the United States tried to spy on ASIO, the Australian Security Intelligence Organisation, by selling it a computer program that contained a hidden keyhole, a lock for which the CIA had a master key. The computer software is called Promise. It's designed to track millions of pieces of information on tens of thousands of people. hand, it's alleged to have been installed in dozens of government departments and security agencies around the world. It's also alleged that American intelligence made some small modifications to the program, modifications that enabled it to key in a special access code and gain entry to all the information on the computer.
It would be equivalent to going into ASIO and reading the handwritten files of all the agents, except the computer has them neatly organized and typed and instantly indexed, so it's much more convenient.
Bill Hamilton owns Inslaw, the company that developed Promise and offered it to the American government.
They would not have bothered to sell it to all these countries without first preparing it in such a way that it would be an easier avenue of penetration into the files of these foreign governments.
The whole story might never have emerged but for the fact that the American government didn't own Promise. It pirated the software from Bill Hamilton's company.
The American government stole this from an American businessman.
We were dumbfounded, couldn't conceive of it.
Hamilton's contract with the US Department of Justice to supply the Promise software was cancelled in 1982 without any real explanation. Only some time later did Hamilton hear that his software was turning up all over the world.
I don't know how much Australia paid. I've been told that Israel paid $5.5 million.
Ari Ben-Menashe confirms that Promise was sold to Israel, but claims the Israelis, unlike the Australians, were in on the secret.
The whole idea was that we would study it, the Americans then would sell it to our neighbors, and then we could, by using telephone lines, get into our neighbors' computers. But then our American friends just took it a step further. They sold it to their allies as well, including Australia.
The list of countries which allegedly bought the Promise software reads like a who's who of America's friends, as well as its most bitter enemies.
NATO.
Is spying on your friends considered a fair thing to do in the intelligence world?
Oh, it is. It's always done. Using a Trojan horse to go inside the agency, that gets a little aggressive, you know.
It all sounds a bit too bizarre to be true, but we've now been able to track down a
It's
key
true.
witness to a prison near Seattle in Washington State.
So you are 100% sure that Promise or a derivative of Promise was bought?
You can learn more about this if you watch the Octopus Murders on Netflix.
By Australia to be used in our intelligence and law enforcement
Absolutely,
agencies?
because I spent several thousand man-hours of programming time with a programming team, developing that subset.
This unlikely-looking character is a computer genius. His name is Michael Riconosciuto, and he says he was in charge of modifying the Promise program so that it could be accessed by American intelligence.
So whoever was holding that master key could do what?
Basically, break into it and spy.
ASIO says it doesn't have and has never had the Promise software. Of course, it won't go into any detail about what sort of computer programs it does have, which is very handy because, according to Michael Riconosciuto, the Promise software was often altered and given different names before it was sold. Indeed, Riconosciuto claims he specifically modified the program for Australia at the request of ASIO.
I basically had to change the communications protocol, which is how that software package interacts with other software packages already resident in the computer system.
In a federal court hearing, Judge George Basin ruled the Justice Department had used illegal and underhanded methods to bankrupt Bill Hamilton's Inslaw company. He ordered the government to pay Inslaw $8 million.
And so the government's, Inslaw sued the government and won. The government stole a piece of software from an American businessman. This is all, it's all in the court documents and stuff. It's not some, lie. And a reporter named Danny Casolaro found out about it and started trying to write a book about it. And they killed him in a bathtub in his hometown. And I feel bad for Danny's family because he had a good family and he was a good man. And yeah, and that's why Palantir is a sure bet. Palantir is a sure bet because they've got promise, and anybody who has promise has all the world's information. It's the back hole into all the world government's computers.
Trickery, fraud and deceit. You use those words when describing how the Justice Department stole the software. Do you stand by those words?
Yes.
Back door. Excuse me, back door. Palantir is the back door to all the world governments. It will always make money.
In my mind about it, the evidence was overwhelming.
So why was the Justice Department so desperate to get the software from Bill Hamilton? To answer that, you have to go back to 1980. Iran had seized American hostages.
All evidence proves that these people are spies.
If President Carter could secure their release, he'd have a big advantage in the upcoming US elections.
My thoughts and my prayers for our hostages in Iran are as though they were my own sons and daughters.
It's now alleged that the Reagan campaign made a deal with the Iranians, a deal to keep the hostages until after the election, thus denying Carter the credit for their freedom. The man alleged to have helped organize this deal is a Reagan political crony called Earl Bryan, and his payoff 3 years later on the promised software. About an hour and a half outside Washington, D.C., you'll find this place, Earl Bryan's multi-million-dollar country estate. If you believe Michael Riconosciuto, it's the house Promise bought. Now, we'd like to bring you Earl Bryan personally denying that claim, but he's not being interviewed by anybody. All we got was this letter from his lawyers threatening action if we so much as associate Earl Bryan's name with this story.
He had the contacts to help make sure that certain elements in Iran would not make a deal with President Carter in 1980, so that President Carter could not recover
This man is not lying. Do you see it? No lie.
in the polls, and that Reagan would win the election.
I, Ronald Reagan, do solemnly swear that
Just 5 minutes after Ronald Reagan took the oath of office, Iran announced that the hostages would be released.
some 30 minutes ago, the planes bearing our prisoners left Iranian airspace and are now free.
And the story doesn't end there. In a moment, the murders that have been linked to the spy scandal.
An American triumph ushered in by an American failure.
There are many shady characters in this story. Spies, former spies, people with something
Americans.
to hide. But there are players with impeccable credentials too. In part 2 of this
I guess we're
investigation,
shady
we meet
now.
a man whose background more than qualifies him to know a scandal when he smells one.
What is being said about this conspiracy points to criminal conduct much worse than anything in Watergate.
And Elliot Richardson should know. 17 years ago, he resigned as US Attorney General on a matter of principle after clashing with Richard Nixon during the Watergate scandal. Today, Richardson is legal counsel for Inslaw, and once again, he has the White House in his sights.
It makes me reluctant to have it emerge that the U.S. government had, through clandestine means, planted software on foreign intelligence agencies so that the U.S. would be better able, as the phrase goes, to read their mail.
The number of murders that have occurred to prevent leaks are incredible. There's nearly 50 murders that can be directly ascribed to this pattern of activity.
The Promise affair and the allegation that Ronald Reagan and George Bush made a deal for the hostages to be kept until after the 1980 election were being investigated by journalist and author Danny Casolaro.
He said he had it. He had some already, and he was going to West Virginia to meet the source who had given him that evidence. This source was now, he said, going to supply additional conclusive proof.
But Danny Casolaro never got to reveal either his source or the hard evidence he said was going to break the scandal wide open. On August the 10th, his body was found in this hotel room in West Virginia. His wrists had been slashed an incredible 12 times.
Like these Boeing reps. Boeing whistleblowers. They supposedly either disappear or commit suicide or...
Danny Casolaro's body was found naked in a pool of bloody water in the bathtub. All his papers were gone within hours.
This was a happy, successful man, a journalist on a deep hunt. Everybody who knew him knew that he was busy and happy, the happiest person that they knew. It kept coming up with it all. You could tell that his family on the Netflix documentary and stuff, when they talk, they aren't lying. He was like the happiest person that they knew. He was just, he was like stereotypically sunshiny, happy person. And so this whole kill himself thing, I watched like fucking 40 people get marched in front of the camera, and they're all like, no, Danny would never hurt himself. Nope. Very sunshiny, happy person. Not a single one of them bought it. Nobody bought it. Nobody in the country bought this. This is the most suspect goddamn murder of all time, really. I believe it is. Maybe OJ was more suspect,
Death, a suicide.
This is up there with those Boeing whistleblowers that have gone, have gone away recently.
You have a
before they could testify,
forensic artistry, shall we say, where you have professionally trained people that set up a crime scene, and they make it phenomenally difficult for investigators to backtrack, make a murder look like a suicide.
His body was embalmed by Monday morning by the time we found out. That is against the law in West Virginia. His body was embalmed without family consent. That certainly makes an autopsy.
When did they do that? Do you know how mad I would be? If they, embalmed my mother without my permission, without asking me first, I'd be like, I will kill you. I will kill you. I can't believe you did that. I wouldn't kill them, but I would be very, very, very angry. Not because, it's just, it might not be concordant to her wishes. What if Danny's family knew that Danny wanted to have his ashes scattered, and then they come to find out that the government has embalmed him against their will, knowledge, or permission? This all happened. This isn't some conspiracy theory thing where it's like, photoshopped stuff or anything like that. This is all matter of public fucking record. The octopus murders, for me, was the death of America. I don't trust them at all. I don't trust them to not come and try and kill me, frankly. I don't trust them at all, I don't say you should have the same experience or feeling. I'm just telling you how I feel.
Tony
to each their own.
says his brother Danny.
They've never harmed me, so the government has, as it exists right now, they have harmed me in the respect that, they have held over my head 10 years in jail for probation violation for 2 years while COVID held up their courts. And this was, in its own way, a form of mental torture that I believe I could sue them for successfully. It was like a form of mental torture. It was not a right to a speedy trial. I don't care if there's diseases or anything like that. I have a right to a speedy trial. And they extended that motherfucker out 2 years, And that was okay. I was scared I was going to go to jail. It was okay that they extended it out 2 years. It's just holding it over my head was a form of torture. Living in that fear for 2 years was a form of torture. It was not a right to a speedy trial. I asked them for one, and I didn't get one. They booked me back 15 months later. 15 months. And I sat there and I waited. like playing video games all day as a hollow soul with no place, no home, nothing, just waiting for them to drop the goddamn guillotine and put me in jail for 10 years on a non-violent fucking felony, right? Possession and trespassing and and theft, and I just like kind of lost my sanity. I stopped believing in them, and I just sort of, and I feel now that, it's not that implausible that they killed Danny. I don't think it's that implausible after what they did to me. I don't know.
Wasn't the suicidal type.
No, he's not the suicidal type. None of them would have said, even back in the 70s, they wouldn't say, or sorry, the 90s. Even in the 90s, they would not say he was the suicidal type. They were like, no, this is a guy who's sunshiny and happy, and everybody loved him. He was famous. He was, he was a good writer. He was a good journalist. He was a famous guy. He was happy with his life.
He was describing for me a few weeks before he died.
Yeah, like he was the antithesis of somebody who would kill themselves, is what they all kept saying. They like, none of them bought it. None of their family, none of the press, nobody bought that lie. Nobody, not the Netflix documentary. Nobody bought that lie that Danny was depressed. Nobody would buy it. It's a harmful lie, because not only does it disguise his murder by the government, it also is really detrimental to people with mental disabilities and such, and mental diseases. It's an overall really bad thing when they fake suicide. It's really terrible.
And some of the people involved, and he said a lot of accidents had happened to people who...
One of the scary things about the Danny Casolaro case and the whole promise development and Palantir and all this, and the death of privacy and the spying of everybody and everything all the time, is that Promise wrote a back door through all the world government spying programs, and so now we can spy on them and they can spy on us, and there's nothing that stops it. We also have cables running under the ocean called Operation Ivy. You can look at that next. These things are a matter of fact. They aren't some, they're some fucking like fantasy, like kind of like what happened to JFK or anything like that. We don't know what happened to JFK, but we know that, but we know it's a mystery, right? These are things that are not mysteries. They have been proven in court. These are things that, no, I'm not looking for Operation Ivy. I'm looking for the actual Operation Ivy, right? Deuterium, yep. Operation Ivy, what is it, right? No, yep, Operation Ivy was fucking really good, yep, but I love Operation Ivy. I love this album. It's such a fucking good album. All I know is that I don't know. All I know is that I don't know nothing. Nuclear fusion test film, yep. So anyways, nobody talks about the Operation... I'm sorry, it's, Operation Ivy Bells. Here we go.
Welcome. This is True Spies.
Yep. So here's a spy, testifying essentially that what happened here. And we have underwater cables that run between the different world governments, and we spy on each other through that. That's why we have all kinds of problems all the time. It's stupid. It's now it's okay that we have this. It's just they hide it from us. And I mean, sure, secrecy is important, but most of this stuff, like them killing Danny, for instance, is not good,
On the things that he had been working on. He said, if an accident happens to me, don't believe it.
Don't believe it.
But bad things seem to happen to people who make waves in the Inslaw affair.
Yeah, because the government, stole a program and used it to backdoor the entire world's, government and all this. And, yeah, and now we have the deep state, and they're complicit in murder, and we can easily prove it, and we don't, because they're in control, we're not.
Earlier this year, Michael Riconosciuto contacted Bill Hamilton and signed a sworn affidavit for Hamilton's...
I'm not interested in what some conspiracy theorist says. I'm interested in what they have under court document. And that's this. I will only ever talk about stuff that is actually, true. Like actually, known.
Justice.
We don't know who killed Danny. I'm not trying to say who did, right? We don't know who did that. We don't know. Well, I was trying to say that but Inslaw and Promise and the theft of it and Operation Ivy Bells and and all this they're real things. They are proven in a court of law. They're not some fantasy.
Do you believe Michael Riconosciuto?
The conviction, the government was convicted of theft of software from Inslaw. They were convicted. They were convicted guilty in a court of law. That's true. That is a matter of fact.
Alter the software as he claimed he did?
Yes, I do.
Almost immediately, Riconosciuto was contacted by a Justice Department official and given a very clear message.
Back off or else.
Less than 2 weeks after that threat, Michael Riconosciuto was arrested on drug charges.
My main concern right now is staying alive and protecting my family.
Right.
And remember Judge Basin, who found in favour of Inslaw against the Justice Department? Well, a few months later, Judge Bason's reappointment to the bench, thought to be a formality, was blocked by the Justice Department.
Yeah.
His career has been destroyed. Would you still be a judge if you hadn't handed down the decision you did?
I think I would be. I rendered the, quote, wrong decision in the case of Inslaw versus Department of Justice.
Your replacement in the bankruptcy court was a lawyer who argued for the Justice Department in this case.
Yes.
Does that smell? Is that worthy of...
It's certainly an odd coincidence, isn't it?
Every time you figuratively pick up a rock, in this case, you find maggots under it.
Attorney General Elliot Richardson, who now represents Inslaw, says there's only one way to find the truth.
If there was not enough reason before to justify a full-scale, all-out, hard-hitting, and partial federal investigation, the case for doing that now is overdone.
Former Attorney General Ed Meese disagrees.
The question is whether there's any legal basis for it.
Ed Meese.
The people who looked into it, including Attorney General Thornburg, have indicated there is no basis for it. And I would certainly have more confidence in Mr. Thornburg's judgment as an impartial person on the subject than I would Mr. Richardson, who's obviously a partisan and represents one of the parties.
A House subcommittee led by Congressman Jack Brooks has been investigating the Inslaw case for 2 years. Brooks has accused the Justice Department of stonewalling the committee's investigation.
You see how it's all out in the public and they've been fighting over this for like 50 years and shit? Yeah, we have a rogue entity who took over the government and stole a piece of software from an American businessman who was just trying to help the court system track inmates and such and people of interest and in crime. And then they went from there, and that's how they took over the government and spun this all out of control. And it's why they want us to go to war with China and Russia. All these other crazy things is because they've been spying on each other really badly, and now these other world governments really hate them. And they never talk about this in the public because they don't want the public to know what happened. But I mean, it is a reality. Occasionally, some of it leaks through to the court cases and the judges and stuff. And we get a prosecution here and there. Like we had a prosecution in this case. They stole this software and Inslaw sued them and won. Nobody sues the government and wins. I mean, the only time that nobody ever sues the government and wins pretty much almost ever. Unless it's like where they're clearly at fault for something really horrible, and that's very rare, right? And so now, like, so there's like 2 cases that I can think of in the recent memory where people sued the government and won. It's Coretta Scott King sued the government and got them to admit that there was something fucky about MLK. And she won that court case, believe it or not. And then the other screwy court case is this one, where what's his name? The guy who created Inslaw sued the government for $8 million and won because they just full blown stole his software. They just stole it, and he proved it in court and he won in the court case. And that's all a matter of like you can see that That's all a matter of fact.
2 years to release more.
I'm interested in fact. I can't work with anything that, you know, that has like no basis in court document or some such. This is all what we know about our rogue government. This is what we know as told by the court reporters. This is the side of our government that has come out in the courts. Occasionally somebody does sue the government for trying to kill them, like Coretta Scott King or Inslaw, and they win because the government like can't supply the evidence to win the case, you know? They would if they could. But the government lost both these cases because, yeah, they were absolutely complicit in MLK's murder, and they're definitely complicit in Inslaw. Yeah. As proven in a court of law, they left trails of evidence the Inslaw used in essentially what you would consider to be like it's a industry theft. I don't know what they call that. It's not embezzling. It's theft of intellectual property, essentially. The government committed theft of intellectual property by stealing this guy's software. The CIA ran a fucking op to do it. And we know this because it's like, you know, they prosecuted the government for it and won. And that was in 1986. That was a long time ago.
Finally produced some
I don't know why I should trust this government if they're stealing pieces of Palantir, you know, spy software from good, kind-hearted, well-intending, good actors, American businessmen, no less, you know? American fucking businessmen, no less. They robbed a fucking piece of software from a fucking court software company. And they used it to take over every government in the world. And they've been prosecuted for this. And they've been found guilty. Now people forget. I didn't know until I stumbled down. Now people forget. Like people forget that this happened, but it did happen. It's all matter of court cases. There's no hidden thing that I'm hiding from you that you stumble on later or something. No, this is all matter of court record. It's all true. It's all like I challenge you to prove that this is false. It is entirely true. It's all court evidence and stuff. So now, like, you know, so now we've known since 1986 that a rogue element in our government stole a piece of software from an American businessman who had, in his own right, had never harmed anybody or done anything wrong at all to deserve that sort of treatment. He was a good actor. And the guy sued the government 4 years later and won. $8 million and won because it did ruin his life. He was poised to fix the country's problems around cross-referencing their court cases, and whoever does that deserves a really good patent and a good life, and their kids should be able to eat, you know, because they helped us string together court cases between different criminal defendants and understand how if there's any connections between our criminals or not. Inslaw itself was actually about as honest and pure and white hat as electronics get. It was never meant to be this Palantir thing that turned into Palantir and NSA Prison Project and Promise and all this other stuff. It was meant to be something to track criminals. That was it. Now we use it to track everything and everyone. When Bad Religion sings on the radio about how the government watches his high-speed connection, you know, his broadband connection, and like what he's really talking about is the 65 or so world governments that America let have the Promise program. Inslaw. Wow, that guy got liquefied somehow. It's weird. And so, yeah, and like I feel so bad, but I mean, this is all matter of public record, all of it. The Coretta Scott King thing is a matter of public record. She sued the FBI. She couldn't get a conviction on why they killed the you know, MLK, but she got him to admit that there was a conspiracy around MLK, and she won her court case. And that's about as close as she'll probably get, frankly. And I view this as a bunch of people up in our governments are working hand in hand with the lobbies to co-opt the U.S. government, and they spy on each other, and then they threaten to kill each other, which is why we always go to foreign wars all the fucking time. And they want us to fear China and Russia and all this, but honestly, when you actually look at the Palantir and you read the tweets and you read the Twitters of citizens in these countries, you can see that the citizens don't hate each other; they just fear each other. We are told by the American government to fear China and Russia, so we do. We are told by our streamers and our content creators to fear these entities. But I mean, we are China and Russia and Mexico. We are these things. We are made of these things. If you go into public, you will see it. You will see Russians, you will see Chinese, you will see Mexicans, Irish, all kinds of different races and stuff. This country is the melting pot. So I mean, trying to say that these people are an enemy just based off their racial delineation or their country delineation or whatever their categorization is ridiculous. And we know why they do this. It's because they're at odds with the people that they sold Palantir. They're at odds with them. They want to start a war with them. They want to kill them because they're complicit in helping the deep state take over our world government. They're complicit in it. They will hang from the gallows in Times Square or Tiananmen Square just like us, So, and their governments are complicit in it too. And so now it's kind of like the people are actually in a war. They want us to fight China, Russia, and Japan and all this stupid shit. I mean, we had a reason to go to World War II. We didn't really have a reason beyond a bet that we went to Vietnam. But I mean, and we really didn't have a reason to go to Afghanistan. This is because our world governments have been kibitzing with all the other world governments for so long with shit like Operation Ivy Bells and shit that is very well known public knowledge. And I'm sorry, it's not that I fear or want them to die or something like this. I just don't want them running the lobby and the government anymore. I think they're bad actors. I think we can be honest about this. When they get busted in court back in 1986, they got busted and they lost the U.S. government lost their court case. It's a matter of fact.
Were either lost
INSLAW won their court case against the government. The government had to fess up to stealing a piece of software from a well-standing American businessman. That not only to me makes pretty much the government a rogue government, but it also, and then this is why they killed Danny too, and I don't care if they kill me, honestly. I always thought they would shoot me with a fucking high-power rifle from across the street. I'm not lying when I said I used to stand on stage and scream about shit like this. I'm an actual punker at heart. I'll fight them over it. I don't care. Fuck them. They're like a bad actor, rogue government, taking over our fucking government and shit. They're fucking harming business people that working in America and all this. They're harming their own. They're okay. It goes deeper than that. If you go further than that, you begin to see that they've committed 9/11 and shit like that, and literally killed 3,000 of us. They've been waging a war against us for a long time. I don't know what to do other than to raise the awareness of it and show you the goddamn court cases proving it.
Even President Bush is being questioned about INSLAW.
Yeah, they're like all the time. The press used to hammer the president right on camera about INSLAW. They're like, "What about INSLAW, right? INSLAW case and all this, right? We weren't alive yet. We weren't alive when this was happening. But I want us to be aware of it. I want my generation, everybody younger than me, to be fucking aware of this. The press used to pepper questions about the rogue government who took over our government and shit, trying to kill an American businessman and take everything he had ever worked on, and then stole it and used it to spy on all the other world governments, and now they sold it to all the other world governments, and the people who bought it, the people in the world governments who bought it from us, are now complicit in the American deep state takeover of our government. And so now the British Royal Crown is buying, children from Jeffrey. We are buying, not we, but I mean our people like Bill Gates are buying children from Jeffrey. They all know that they're all patrons of Jeffrey, so they blackmail each other all the fucking time. And how they know is through Operation Ivy Bells, which is the deep state deep sea cables that connect all of the world governments together. And so every year they find out that Germany's gone back down to the Marianas Trench. And I wish I was kidding about this, but you're going to hear it in the fucking podcast if you don't believe me about this. And this is all matter of court record too. Like every couple of years they figure out that some other world government has come to the American fucking cable and just tapped that motherfucker with a deep sea submarine. And they discovered all of our world secrets and everything that we've done and all of our nuclear research and all of our fucking shit and everything that we ever worked on and all of our spy money and everything that the spies have found out in Afghanistan and all this other shit is all being broadcast on world cables to other world governments because they're essentially their own world governments. You know, they're like, and I hate to say it, but I mean that's kind of what they are. They're like their own world government running our world government. And it's not good. I don't fear them. I don't want them to die. I have no ill will towards them. I don't fucking care, frankly. I just need people to understand. I mean, I care every time that they do something like kill Danny Casolaro. When you act like a bad actor in my community and you kill somebody and hide it with a suicide like in the Boeing cases and all this, I want you to face time in court like any other criminal who acts out. You are not above the law. I wish you to face criminal charges when you break the law. That's okay that you break the law. I think you think that we all want to kill you or something like that. No, we all break the law. You made the laws to put me in jail and shit. I mean, no, we all break the law. You know, we all speed in our cars every once in a while. Everybody breaks the law somehow, generally, you know. And so it's like, no, we don't hold you to some higher standard. We're not going to kill you if we found out that you killed JFK, you know. We're not going to kill you if we found out that you killed MLK. I think that's why they do all this stuff. They try and cap up Danny Casolaro and then hide it as a suicide. They cap up some fucking, whistleblower in the Boeing case and all this. And I'm not trying to spout like crazy conspiracy theorists, like alarmist lies or whatever. I mean, I'm not trying to spout like, they're not lies. This is all confirmed in court cases and shit. Operation Ivy Bells is a real thing. Johnny Harris went live. This is a guy with 5 million YouTube subs and shit. Johnny Harris went live last year talking about all the fake buildings in America that are actually the connections to Operation Ivy Bells. I mean, that's all actually stuff that we know, you know?
I know his views on that. He doesn't have
Yeah, we all know the views on Inslaw. Did you guys cap up an American fucking... I mean, did you steal from an American businessman? Did you steal from an American businessman? Are you essentially a rogue agency in a new world order? I mean, that's what he kind of alluded to in all the interviews.
It says it has been able to reconstruct 90% of the missing documents. But a source close to the Brooks...
Yeah, and so Danny had all the paperwork to all this. It hasn't been a secret for it. You know, it's one of the funny things about the octopus murders is that they've been around for 45 years, and none of it's a secret. None of it. It's all matter of record and paperwork and shit that can be used to sink the U.S. government if we wanted to. Now you skipped me ahead, and I didn't want you to do that. Damn it. You fuck me over all the time, YouTube, with that. I really need you to stop fucking with the bad shortcut keybind bullshit.
Without family consent.
Fix your fucking UI.
That certainly makes an autopsy a little more difficult.
Yeah.
Tony Casolaro says his brother Danny.
Yeah, so we got look at like
the quote,
busted back here.
Decision.
So yeah, anyways, so then I don't want to dwell on this. Like, I want them to know. I think they want to kill me with a high power rifle from across the street for talking about this stuff. But I want them to know. I don't think anybody wants you to die or end your service as the world government that you are. I don't think anybody wants to prosecute you or anything like that. We just want the truth. Like, the American people need the truth. The way that a man in the desert who's dying of thirst needs water. You must give us the truth. I don't think Fox Mulder in particular wanted to prosecute anybody in the government. We just wanted the fucking truth. And I'm talking about a fictional character because we've never had justice. It's been fictional at best. We've never had justice with you. I would not prosecute you for 9/11. I just need you to tell the goddamn truth about it. I think you're under pressures that we don't understand and all this crazy shit. I'm not excusionist or ableist about them killing our own people or JFK or MLK or fucking or Op Ivy Bells or any of this other stuff, right? I just think that the truth would be good for all of us. I don't think any of us can get closure unless we hear the truth. And if the government is just like, well, we needed to sway the politics away from JFK, that would be a good enough excuse for me to just not even prosecute you guys. It's weird. You'd be surprised how much I think the American public is actually inclined to just forgive, and forget. But what we don't do is deal well with lies for an extended period of time. We don't do well with lies. I would say the American public does not do well with lies, and you've been lying to us for too fucking long. I don't want prosecution or death for you, or even like a depose or a firing. I suppose some people would probably call for you to be fired for doing all this stupid shit. I'm okay with you keeping your fucking job if you just goddamn fess up so we can figure out what the mysteries are and what the facts are. Your bullshit has comprised like this false narrative for 45 years, and now we don't know what's what, and that is harmful to America, just like you. And here's Frontline PBS talking about the George W. Bush era Patriot Act fucking betrayal of its own 300,000, fucking 700 million fucking Americans. Here's Frontline PBS talking about that. That's disgusting. You guys took over the government. You used it for corrupt reasons and means and fucked up shit that honestly, I don't think any of us really care that you did, frankly. I mean, some of us care that you did it, but I don't think anybody wants a prosecution even. We just want the goddamn truth at this point. We don't know what's a lie and what's truth at this point. You've been up there in that fucking room like the huge labor boss in Disco Elysium, lying like Donald Trump for 45 fucking years, and I don't care about what, and I don't care what you did. I need you to just tell the fucking truth now. I don't care. I don't want to prosecute you or hurt you in any way or form. You obviously are a bad actor or whatever that's taken over our government. But I mean, if you were to just give us the fucking truth, I think you'd be surprised how often we'd be like, oh, well, that's what it was, huh? Okay. Isn't that kind of how lies always are? Like at the end, the person tells you, why did you lie to me about this for so long? The truth was so much easier to deal with than the lie, Like, I don't want any prosecutions of the deep state that took over our government. I don't care about that. I'm a chaotic neutral person. I actually don't really care about that. What I do care about is the lies have spun us around for so fucking long. We don't know what's what. We don't know what's true and what isn't. Did they kill JFK? Didn't they kill JFK? Did they commit 9/11? Didn't they commit 9/11? Did they steal Inslaw? Yeah, they stole Inslaw. But I mean, what else did they do after they stole Inslaw? We don't know because they went rogue at that goddamn point. I don't care that they're a rogue entity in our government. I think they intend to help us, honestly. I think they intend to kill us, but they also intend to help us, and it's like kind of crazy. So like whatever, I'll take the hug and the smack at the same time with them. I don't even want to depose them or take their jobs or anything at all. I just want the fucking truth. That's it. That's all Danny wanted. That's all. I mean, they killed him for it. I just want the fucking truth at this point. I don't care about prosecuting you. I don't think we'll get one. I think it's been 70 years since JFK. We're not going to get a prosecution on any of this. So, but I do want the truth. I think functionally, not working with the truth is actually dangerous for the American people. And I think that's something that these assholes could get behind eventually. Is that, yeah, not having the truth is literally detrimental to America. And if you really love America enough to steal our government and become a rogue government who took over and committed Inslaw and all this other shit, if you love us that much that you want to take over our government and fucking like run us into the fucking rocks or whatever, okay, so be it. But I mean, like, I don't know, like, why do you need to lie so much about it? I don't find the lies to be fucking necessary. You could just tell us what you want. But you and the truth, I don't think fuck with each other very often. I think lies are your main fucking tool, I think it's your obfuscation and lies are most of the world's government's tools, and I don't know, I don't like sounding like some crazy ranting asshole. I'm gonna stop now.
Al-Qaeda.
Every time they say Al-Qaeda, whatever every time they say Al-Qaeda, I start laughing. That's like talking about, what's a really funny one? urban myths, right? Like, if you masturbate, you'll go blind. The phrase Al Qaeda has about the same comedic value to me as if you masturbate, you'll go blind. It's about the same amount of lie. It's just based in about the same amount of reality. Every time they say Al Qaeda, I'm like, oh my God, are you guys still on that shit? Jesus Christ, how many different names did you give them over the years? There was like Al Qaeda, there was ISIS, there was oh God, there's so many. You call them Islamics sometimes, but that's the most respectful one, so you barely ever use it, you know? It's like this boogeyman that you call the Middle East, that you change the name of and the destination of all the fucking time. I mean, I thought that we were in a war with Saddam Hussein. Oh no, it's a made up entity called Osama bin Laden. Oh yeah. So it's some made up guy named Osama bin Laden nobody's ever heard of before managed to crash our planes into our own buildings, huh? Oh yeah. This guy you've never heard of before is definitely powerful enough to outdo Saddam Hussein. Yeah. And so okay, so we're going to fight Saddam Hussein. No. We're going to Iran. Wait, but we're going to Iran? No. We're going to Afghanistan. We're going to sack Afghanistan because everybody who ever tried to sack Afghanistan lost horribly and lost 9/10 of everything that they owned and all of their armies. And so but they don't want to tell the American people this. They don't want to say that we're going to war with Afghanistan because the American people will be like, oh, that place that they call the graveyard of nations, because every country that ever tried to sack Afghanistan dies in the heat and fails and gets insurrected and all this other shit and loses the push, right? Just like Russia and Moscow, right? And so yeah, so they can't justify, just like Vietnam and World War II and going into Russia during the winter or any of the other things that the rogue government that took over our world government wants us to do. They never make sense, right? It doesn't really make sense for White Boy to go over there to the swamp. Remember, we had a movie about it called, Born on the 4th of July. Really doesn't make too much sense to send White Boy over to the fucking swamp. White Boy doesn't know too much about the swamp. And I know that's racist, but it's true, and I'll hit you with it because it's true. White Boy doesn't know too much about the swamp. I mean, Florida Man knows a lot about the swamp, but White Boy doesn't know that much about about oriental swamps. You know? And so okay, well, let's get into 20-year quagmire Afghanistan, Vietnam fucking quagmire, right? White Boy doesn't know too much about deserts. I mean, we live in Arizona, but White Boy doesn't know too much about deserts, you know? And so, yeah, so we went to Afghanistan for 20 years, and yeah, that didn't go too well, you know? And if you think about a reason, right? Originally, it was supposed to be that we were searching for weapons of mass destruction from Saddam Hussein. That was his big lie, right? Well, he's one of his 3 big lies, right? So then the focus shifted to a fictional entity called Osama bin Laden, and that became the greatest witch hunt of all time, short of course, the Holocaust. And then, that was kind of a pretty bad lie. So then we ended up hating the Middle East. We ended up hating Saddam Hussein and fearing him and telling the world this terrible lie that he's all going to blow our heads off with a nuclear bomb, and then selling it to the world, and we sold it. And Radiohead from London is writing albums like Hail to the Thief and 2 + 2 = 5 about our world government leader, this guy. And all this, and it's just kind of crazy. And and so they lie and they get their enemies screwed up, and they say, oh, we're after Saddam Hussein and all his weapons of mass destruction, but also we're after that guy that we said committed 9/11, and then but we never had any proof. And then after that, our really big lie was, now we're gonna go fight Afghanistan and the Valley, but remember Osama bin Laden? Is he from Afghanistan? Where is Osama bin Laden from? Right? Where is, in this lie that they composed, where supposedly is Osama bin Laden from? Right? Okay, so right, Saudi Arabia. Oh, okay, so the guy that you said dropped bombs. Oh, sorry, whatever you want to call it. Crash planes into our buildings. I think of it as drop bombs, but you think of it as crash planes, right? So this guy who dropped planes into our buildings, right? He's from Saudi Arabia. So why did we spend 20 years in Afghanistan? And our journalists are so stupid that they don't know how to ask this, but I do. If this guy committed 9/11 and he's from Saudi Arabia, and all these lies that you told about him, you constructed this fucking lie, you know? So why did we spend 20 years in Afghanistan? Because isn't Osama bin Laden from Saudi Arabia? It seems that when White Boy went to look at the desert map, he forgot which country to attack. And you begin to realize how really bad White Boy is at the desert. That he can't even get the country right that he's attacking. And I just don't believe in any of this shit anymore. I don't really believe in their lies. I don't believe in the things they say. I don't know why they do the things that they do. I don't know why they lie like this. I don't know why they get the country screwed up. I don't know why they make up people and blame all the world's problems on them. I don't know. I don't know why they do this. They're greedy, rich white people. We don't know. I could leave the white part out of it, but it wouldn't change the fact that the one unifying color is white. You know? And all of these bad actors is
people. That one, I've got the authority to do this. Two, it is a necessary part of my job to protect you. And three, we're guarding your civil liberties. And we're...
Every strong American I ever met was basically pretty much, not all of them, but most of them are willing to protect themselves if come down to it. I really don't need our American government to tell me that they're going to protect me from Afghanistan. I believe I can protect myself from Afghanistan.
But once before...
Would I die if Afghanistan decided that Skycat.live needed to die? Yeah, I would die. Yeah, I would say so. But I don't need the world government to come and... I'm sorry, the American government to... I keep thinking of it as the world government, right? I don't need the world government to tell me who to hate. I don't need the world government to tell me which country we're attacking that's not the right one again. I don't need the world government to tell me who you know, I don't need the world government to drop nuclear bombs on countries that I've never been to.
Was accused of invading American civil liberties.
I didn't need that. I don't believe my parents wanted it. I believe you've been acting as a rogue agent for as long as we've been alive.
Scandals of the Watergate era in the 1970s.
I believe your presidents are corrupt, and I think your inner systems are based against us, not for us, and I think it's all a big housing and urban development scam. I think you're all real estate artists, griftonomics, theft people that, you know, manipulate the stock exchange and kind of cause Black Fridays all the time so you can drum up panic and get people to buy stuff from you, and I just don't really like you.
Made its first inquiries into this operation.
I don't think there's anything you could ever say to win my faith back, right? So, but I'm not Jesus. I'm not here to condemn you, or I'm not God or Satan. I'm not here to pass the, you know, off of this head thing. I'm not here to condemn you for what you've done here, like you did me. I just want you to tell the truth now, so that we can know what's the truth and what's the lie. That's more harmful to us than anything you or I have done to each other. The lies are more harmful to us than anything you and I have done to each other. And I'm talking, when I say you and I mean the rogue agent that's taken over our world government and the American public, which is what I am.
May.
the Church Committee, headed by Senator...
And you understand that not a single tinfoil hat motherfucker showed up in the last, 3 hours, right? There's no tinfoil hat motherfucker here. These are all court cases that happened, proof of the death of our government and the bad actors that control it now. All this other stuff.
Exposed widespread abuses of power at the FBI and the CIA, and revealed that the NSA had been spying on Americans for decades. What was Operation Shamrock?
Operation Shamrock was...
Fucking drunks. I fucking hate you. Fucking stupid-ass, paddle-ass drunks. Fuck you, drunks.
It was a program of the National Security Agency to obtain access to telegrams that were leaving the United States for other countries, for foreign countries. And the idea was that the NSA would look through these telegrams, look for telegrams of interest from a foreign intelligence standpoint.
Are you saying all the telegrams going out of the U.S., how did they get access?
They asked. I mean, that sounds very simplistic, but they approached the communications carriers, the telegraph companies concerned.
RCA, ITT.
And Western Union.
So in Operation Shamrock, what we saw was the NSA turning its foreign intelligence operations internally on American communications.
Exactly, yeah. Operation Shamrock was getting access to all the communications going out of and going through the United States.
There were very few rules back there, very few laws, regulations that dealt with what NSA or any intelligence agency could collect back then. The capabilities were there, the restraints weren't there. The temptation is to do it.
The committee believes that serious legal and constitutional questions are raised by this program.
The exercise of unchecked executive power rankled Congress.
The program certainly appears to violate Section 605 of the Communications Act of 1934, as well as the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution.
So Congress passed the FISA law, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, and set up a super-secret court here on the 6th floor of the Justice Department to prevent abuses of civil liberties. FISA said no intelligence wiretaps inside the U.S. without a warrant, and the FISA court was designated as the exclusive authority for getting warrants. Why is the FISA court, the judge, or the Congress so important to this process?
Because the cop is a zealous person. You want your cop, you want your intelligence agent to go full board and be really devoted to what they're doing. And then you want somebody to say, wait a second, we don't want Dirty Harry, we have to have some ways to rein that in. And so you want the energy of the executive, and you want the checks and balances on that, so we get energy and we get rule of law. And that was our American invention. That's the whole checks and balances, Madison, Federalist Papers. It's those inventions that can get put at risk if it's just saying, Commander-in-Chief, stop there, don't question it.
Hence the furor when President Bush went around the FISA court.
And why did you skip the basic safeguard of asking courts for permission for these intercepts?
You're referring to the FISA court in your question. Of course we use FISAs. But FISA's is for long-term monitoring. What is needed in order to protect the American people is the ability to move quickly to detect.
The law said the exclusive authority for wiretaps were these other statutes. And the president looked at exclusive authority and said, except when I feel like it.
I swore to uphold the laws.
It was as though the lessons of Watergate had been forgotten. It was as though the lessons of centralized executive power and the problems that come with that had been forgotten. And now the president just said, I think I can do it my way.
So you're saying the president violated the law?
My view is that the president violated the law, yeah.
What do you say to people who say the president violated the FISA law?
I think that there's a law greater than FISA, which is the Constitution. And part of the Constitution is the president's commander-in-chief power. Congress can't take away the president's powers in running war that are given to him by the Constitution. There's some decisions the Constitution gives to the president, and even if Congress passes a law, they can't seize that from him.
But there was another reason the president went around FISA. The NSA needed to tap into communications more broadly than the president had indicated.
The difficulty in this war is that the enemy is not a nation. So what they do is they disguise themselves as civilians, and they place their communications through normal civilian channels. And so the hard thing for our side is to identify where in that stream of civilian, innocent communications Al-Qaeda members are disguising their messages to one another, trying to intercept those and find out what they mean.
Fishing for possible targets among streams of civilian communications takes a lot of guessing.
If you're trying to prevent future terrorist attacks, trying to make guesses, you're trying to use probabilities, you may not have a lot of information that say, yes, this person for sure is a member of Al-Qaeda.
But there's a legal problem. Guessing is not allowed under FISA.
The second difficulty is that it doesn't allow you, for example, to tap streams of communication that might be coming, say, from Afghanistan to the United States, to try to search through those for terrorist communications, even though you don't have the specific name of the terrorist leader.
Now, could you do that kind of blanket eavesdropping, listening to those calls under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act?
No, I think this is a good example of where existing laws were not up to the job.
In the intelligence game, blanket eavesdropping is called a driftnet, an electronic driftnet. But former NSA Director General Michael Hayden said no, that's not what was going on in the president's eavesdropping program.
This isn't a driftnet out there where we're soaking up everyone's communications. We are going after very specific communications that...
Now, you have General Hayden, the former head of the NSA, and the Attorney General, saying this is not a driftnet. We're not doing data mining in this program.
What they've said repeatedly is that we're not doing the driftnet in this program. But it might be program number 2 or program number 3.
This program being what, the president's program?
Because they were talking about the president's program, and then the other things we're worried about tend to be happening in these other programs they haven't admitted to.
Is there any stop you from wiretapping without a warrant somebody inside the United States that you suspect of having Al-Qaeda connections?
Clearly, Senator, that is not what's going on here, first of all. The President has authorized a much more narrow program.
So you're suggesting their denials are a word game, not a true denial. Have you looked at it closely?
I looked at the Attorney General's testimony very carefully, and every time he gave the big denials, they were attached to the words "this program."
Al-Qaeda to Al-Qaeda within the country, you're saying we do not get involved in those calls. Now,
not under the program in which I'm testifying, that's right.
You're saying Al-Qaeda to Al-Qaeda within the country is beyond the bounds?
Certainly is beyond the bound of the program which I'm testifying about today.
Has the President ever invoked this authority with respect to any activity other than NSA surveillance?
Again, so I'm not sure how to answer that question. And the President has exercised his authority to authorize this very targeted surveillance of international communications of the enemy. So, I'm sorry, your question is?
Has the President ever invoked this authority with respect to any activity other than the program we're discussing, the NSA surveillance
Senator,
program?
I am not comfortable going down the road of saying yes or no as to what the President has or has not authorized.
He's a former judge. He's a smart lawyer. The Attorney General was speaking very carefully. But I think there could be lots of room, after you read his testimony, for other programs to be doing really unprecedented things.
What other things might the NSA be doing? To answer that, you have to understand what the NSA actually does and how it works.
The average person doesn't have a concept of the massive capability that is available to the National Security Agency. Forget about the idea of the guy with the earphones on listening to something. That's not what happens. You know, the calls are being sucked up by the millions, and not just the calls, you're engaged in this data mining.
It's essentially looking for certain kinds of signals in an almost Herculean task, a much larger communications environment to find the things that actually have intelligence value.
Data mining. Sifting through oceans of phone calls and internet traffic. That's a far cry from what President Bush described. Targeted intercepts of point-to-point Al-Qaeda communications.
Another feature of data mining is that you don't have any individualized suspicion going in. They don't say, hey, we're looking for something that Hedrick Smith is doing. They are just collecting the data, and then the analysis of the data gives rise to suspicion of individuals based on these connections.
The inside story of what the NSA has actually been up to was discovered here in San Francisco by Mark Klein, a longtime internet technician for AT&T.
In 2002, I was sitting at my workstation one day, and some email came in saying that somebody from the National Security Agency, NSA, was going to come visit for some business. This NSA representative showed up at the door. I happened to be the one who opened the door. I let him in.
He was doing a background check for security clearance for one of our field engineers. He was going to be working at the Folsom Street office, and they were building a secure facility there.
And I heard from our manager, Don, that he's working on some new room that's being built. So people start speculating, well, what's this new room being built?
Mark Klein got suspicious when the workmen constructing the room treated it as hush-hush. So how do you know that it wasn't just some kind of newfangled AT&T thing that was going beyond what had already been established for its security purposes elsewhere?
They wouldn't need the NSA for that purpose. The odd thing about the whole room, of course, was that only this one guy who had clearance from the NSA could get in there. So that changes the whole context of what this is about.
Klein's job was to maintain AT&T's internet service for several million customers. Domestic and international traffic all mixed together.
We're talking about billions and billions of bits of data going across every second, right?
A co-worker showed Klein how their internet room was directly connected to this secret NSA room through a special device called a splitter.
So what they do with a splitter is they intercept that data stream and make copies of all the data, and those copies go down on the cable to the secret room.
What this thing was is a very full-scale device to take all communication, voice and data, and send it both wherever it was supposed to go, but also shunt it off to a little listening room.
So what exactly was going on in that listening room? Klein found clues at work one day.
I came across these 3 documents, and I brought them back to my desk. And when I started looking at it, I looked at it more, and finally it dawned on me sort of all at once, and I almost fell out of my chair.
Klein eventually found detailed designs for the secret room. One of the first to see his documents was internet expert Brian Reed.
Lord, they had a lot of hardware, and they could, with the computers that they had there, they could do anything they wanted with that data. There was serious compute power available to process that wiretap data.
But then there was one thing that was odd, because I didn't recognize it. It was not part of normal day-to-day telecommunications equipment that I was familiar with. And that was a NARUS, N-A-R-U-S, NARUS STA 6400.
The NARUS STA 6400 made me sit up and take notice and realize that this was not an amateur game. And so when you see a NARUS box and all that storage space and all that compute power, you can't help but think, wow, this is some heavy-duty processing power here to really analyze the data that this siphoned off. What is going on?
The term NARUS is Latin for to know. The way our software works is it monitors all of the traffic on the internet, all of the ones and zeros that make up all of the data that you and I generate when we're looking at web pages or when corporations are sending emails back and forth. All of that information, we just sort of peer into the pipes, if you will, and look at the ones and zeros as they go by.
Peering into the pipes. What does that mean?
It's sort of analogous to a letter inside of an envelope. So you've got different layers in these things we call packets. And, the first layer that you get to peer back is the information about where the packet's coming from and where it's going to, the addresses that identify, who's communicating with who. And then once you delve into deeper parts of the packets, that's when you get into what's called the payload. And that includes the actual information that you're trying to send in the packet.
The content.
The content of the packet, that's correct.
So your customers would be communications providers like AT&T or the Bell system. Do you also sell to government agencies like the National Security Agency or the FBI?
I can't comment on any particular agencies that we may or may not have sold to because they haven't given us permission to announce their names.
Why would AT&T put a NARIS STA system in a room in its San Francisco office to which the NSA has access?
That's not a question. So, as far as I know, no one's ever proved anything. I don't know the answer to that question. I have no idea if that's ever been done or not.
You've seen the splitter. You've now got the documents. You've seen the NARIS. What is it you think is going on here?
When I saw all that, it all clicked together to me. Oh, that's what they're doing. This is a spy apparatus.
Klein decided to blow the whistle. He went to see the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Cindy Cohn is their senior attorney.
Mark Klein brought us some very good specific information about a specific facility in San Francisco that confirmed a lot of things that we thought were going on. We found a few other experts who know about the telecommunications companies and the issues that Mr. Klein was talking about.
Oh no, go back.
But there was another
going on. We found a few other experts who know about the telecommunications companies and the issues that Mr. Klein was talking about, and we ran.
Oh, God
But there
damn
was
it.
another reason the president went around eavesdropping.
Wholesalely providing the communication records and ongoing live information to the government. That's a violation of law.
In court, AT&T urged dismissal of the case, citing state secrecy. Both AT&T and NSA refused to talk to Frontline about the case. You're aware that there's a case out here in San Francisco where people are saying that AT&T violated the law by giving the National Security Agency access to all its phone and internet traffic. As a lawyer, is it your opinion that that actually would violate the law?
No, I don't think so if it was part of the President's command and chief power to gather information on the signals intelligence of the enemy.
Can the government pull out the communications it wants, or does it have to have access to the entire flow?
I think the government needs to have at least access to the flow, even if it was going to enforce a warrant, has to have access to the flow.
Under pressure from lawsuits like the AT&T case and from Congress, President Bush made a dramatic reversal last January. He put the one NSA eavesdropping program that he has acknowledged under the FISA court, but he still claims he has the power to go outside FISA anytime he wants. And the government isn't saying whether the eavesdropping at AT&T in San Francisco is covered by FISA. As far as we know, the NARIS box that Mark Klein told us about is still peering into the internet traffic. They say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But the marketing pitch, like the city itself, is a paradox. While legions of fun seekers flock to Vegas every day to get lost in the crowd, the reality is that privacy has become an illusion. I see the sign on your cab getting in, video and audio recording going on.
Well, what we have here is, first, the minute the doors are open, digital still pictures are taken, okay, which are saved. Then the video and audio is running at the same time. And in the event that there is a problem, then the video camera will now download the 20 seconds previous to the event and what's going on during the event.
So this is quite a place, Las Vegas. I mean, there's obviously in the airport lots of video, and obviously at the hotels and casinos, they're loaded with cameras, and now taxis.
Well,
so we're on film practically the moment we arrive.
Correct.
People that come to Vegas, the only time they're not on video is when they're in their room or they're in a public restroom. They don't have them in those. But the hallways, the elevators, the gaming area, we've taken that to a level that has, I think, surpassed any place in the United States.
Las Vegas as surveillance city struck me as an apt metaphor for life in the digital age. Businesses gather information on us routinely. Every day we leave digital trails that reveal where we go, what we do, who we are. After 9/11, government agencies moved aggressively to tap into all that information compiled in commercial databanks. That's what the FBI was doing when it asked for records on 250,000 tourists in Las Vegas.
So you're looking at airlines, car rental agencies, hotels, casinos, timeshare apartments, storage places, the works.
As much as we could get in the few days that we had to work with, yeah.
Were legal papers produced of some kind?
There were official requests for the information. It was not off the record or in any way inappropriate.
What you wanted was an assurance that this was a legal request backed by the power of law, not just a voluntary compliance.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And why?
The concept that someone would want all records with no names identified over a period of time, in this case it would give or take a couple of weeks, is in our industry an extraordinary request.
The Patriot Act includes provisions that permitted the government and the FBI to do exactly what it did, with very little or no judicial oversight whatsoever. It gave the FBI broad, sweeping power and authority to engage in precisely this kind of massive fishing expedition.
What the Patriot Act had done was vastly expand the reach of national security letters, which are FBI administrative subpoenas not approved by any court.
One big change that most people haven't quite seen is that before the Patriot Act, you could get a national security letter, one of these special without a judge, get the phone records letters, but it would be about one person, just about me. But now the language was changed so the government can get the entire database. And there's just a little change in the language. NSLs, national security letters, get X. But X went from the suspect to being the entire database.
And that applies to everything, telephone records,
financial records, your credit histories. That applies, and it applies to these other kinds of orders for any kind of record in the American economy.
Did you use national security letters?
I'm not going to be in a position to tell you what the legal avenues we used were. I can't go there.
Do you know whether or not you got a subpoena, a warrant from a court, or do you know whether or not you got a national security letter from the FBI?
Here's the fun of the Patriot Act. If we were to have received a national security letter, it would be against the law for me to tell you that we did.
And had you received a subpoena with signed off on by a judge, you would be able to.
As a rule, usually we would acknowledge that we received something.
And we're left in blanket silence, which blanket silence in the sense that there are quite a few people who say we can't say. Logical deduction, they must have received national security letters direct from the government.
It would seem to be a logical deduction.
But the big question remains, what did they do with all that information?
It was burned onto CDs here in Las Vegas, and then those CDs were transported to Washington, D.C. for comparison against the various terrorist watch lists.
Back in Washington, the FBI did a batch match, matching the list of 250,000 Vegas visitors against watch lists of tens of thousands of terrorist suspects. And they got a few hits.
Now, when you said there were a few hits, what does that mean? That there were...
There might be a similar name.
On the hotel list and on the watch list?
One of the watch lists, yes.
But how could the FBI decipher those hits? Were those really terrorists or mistaken identities? And what if the bad guys had disguised their names to get lost in the crowd? How could the FBI ferret them out? Ironically, the answer was right here in Las Vegas. For years, the casinos have been using special computer software to ferret out the hidden links between criminals and prospective employees.
At one point, this young computer wizard named Jeff Jonas approached us and had this idea to use a computer program to compare lots of data, things like addresses, phone numbers, birth dates, social security numbers where things were inverted to make it look different.
Is the idea behind the Jonas software, he calls it NORA, N-O-R-A, to unmask sort of obscured relationships?
No, that's exactly the idea. I mean, the idea was to determine whether or not someone who was applying as a dealer was in fact associated with or connected with someone who was a known thief. So the idea was to protect the company's assets before a crime took place.
Our sources said the FBI used Jonas's software to analyze the data collected in Las Vegas. But would that invade the privacy of ordinary Americans?
I'm just wondering, in that 2003 episode, was Jeff Jonas a help? Were you guys able to use it?
I believe he was.
The reason I asked is we were actually told that it was used, that he had,
Well,
he had some.
you got a source here that says it was used. I'm not going to disagree with you or argue with you. Did I use it? I'm not saying. Did my department? We may have. Like I said, there's a lot of privacy concerns, and there's a lot of issues, and there's a lot in the weeds when it comes to private information and how it's used. And I'm simply not in a position today, and maybe never will be, to talk about how we use software to match up tourist information with potential terrorism suspects.
We house 2,400 terabytes of online system storage, enough capacity to contain the entire contents of the U.S. Library of Congress 48 times.
This is a marketing video for Axiom. Since the 1990s, companies like Axiom, LexisNexis, and ChoicePoint have marketed their ability to collect vast amounts of data about all of us, from home mortgages to spending habits, and to create virtual digital dossiers. Watergate-era reforms restricted government use of these private information empires. But after 9/11, the Bush administration lifted the restraints and pushed agencies aggressively to use private databases. This internal FBI document, for example, spread the word. Use ChoicePoint to your heart's content.
When it comes to the Privacy Act, the law didn't change, but there's a change in computers that changed everything. Used to be the fear was the government would have the government database in some big room, an IBM Brainiac computer. And the Privacy Act says we're going to protect against problems there. Today, what
you can't have a big
that you can't have the big Brainiac with the one database on all Americans run by the government. But here's the trick. What you can do if you're the FBI is you can ping the private sector database. Hey, LexisNexis,
you can
access it. Say, hey, give me some information on this person or on that person. And as long as you just access it one at a time, which is the way it works anyways, Privacy Act doesn't apply. Because it's not a government database. It's the private sector database. The law doesn't apply to the private sector database.
Why should Americans worry about the government having the same kind of information that private companies have, companies like ChoicePoint?
Well, the easy answer is that ChoicePoint can't come and arrest you. They can't come search your house. They can't use that information to sort of put into motion the machinery of the justice system. Once it's in the hands of the government, it has those consequences. And that's why the government's looking for the information.
If an American company would have access to this data for purposes of conducting business, I guess I would argue, why wouldn't you want an agency like the FBI in charge of national security to help you protect American lives? And again, it's done, to my knowledge, in accordance with strict guidelines and controls. It's not willy-nilly. There's a structure to the process.
Well, not exactly. FBI Director Robert Mueller was called on the carpet by Congress this spring for myriad abuses by the FBI in using national security letters to secretly collect private records of American citizens. The FBI had issued 150,000 national security letter requests over the past 3 years, and the Justice Department's Inspector General determined that thousands were improperly issued.
I'm deeply disturbed by the Justice Department Inspector General's report finding widespread illegal and improper use of national security letters to obtain Americans' phone and financial records.
Mueller acknowledged the problem and the dangers.
We will correct the deficiencies in our use of national security letters and utilize each of the critical tools Congress has provided us consistent with the privacy protections and civil liberties that we are sworn to uphold.
But the FBI is hardly alone in mining the mountains of commercial data now available. The Government Accounting Office found 199 data mining projects in more than 50 government agencies. The granddaddy of them all originated inside an elite Defense Department research agency known as DARPA.
The key to fighting terrorism is information. We must be able to detect, classify, identify, and track potential foreign terrorists in a world of noise.
This is a DARPA video for TIA, or Total Information Awareness. The concept was to use predictive data mining to detect suspicious patterns of terrorist operations.
And human identification at a distance will improve the ability to identify foreign terrorists from a distance.
TIA's controversial logo was an all-seeing eye.
If one could imagine that, we have an eye in the sky, and we could truly get all the transactions, all the things that that group did to conduct that plot, okay, to conduct that attack, our thesis is that that set of transactions across space, time, and by some number of people will be a unique signature.
TIA's mission, which required access to enormous volumes of personal data, triggered controversy in Congress.
The Total Information Awareness Program is over the line, is invading the civil liberties of law-abiding Americans on U.S. soil.
In 2003, Congress cut off funding for TIA, or so it seemed. Is it true that in that black budget, some of the TIA programs were moved over to the National Security Agency?
I can't, it's classified. All I can say is that there were elements of our agenda at DARPA that the Congress recognized as being valuable to the point where they said, let's not kill them, let's get them out of DARPA and transition them to another agency within the intelligence community. And I was the guy that did that.
Is it inevitable that we're moving towards a world in which this kind of mass data mining and analysis is just going to happen?
I think it is happening. There's been an explosion of information technology and access to data. This is what the internet and all this IT revolution has done. The world is getting digitized. It's ubiquitous, information technology. Access to data is far more easy, and a lot of people see tremendous advantage in being able to tap into that.
So we should be having an open discussion about this and then maybe talking about what privacy safeguards are needed in a new world.
Bless you. Absolutely. Absolutely.
What do we need to do? Are we just going to have to live with this? Is this going to happen inevitably and we just have to live with it?
I think that we do need to say, look, data mining or fusion of information or connecting the dots or whatever you want to call it is clearly going to be a huge feature of our law enforcement national security apparatus. Let's start crafting a set of rules for it.
I always said when I was in my position running counterterrorism operations for the FBI, how much security do you want and how many rights do you want to give up? I can give you more security, but I got to take away some rights. So there's a balance. Personally, I want to live in a country where you have a common sense, fair balance. Because I'm worried about people that are untrained, unsupervised, doing things with good intentions, but in the end of the day, harm our liberties.
Back in December 2003, Sheriff Bill Young ultimately decided to carry on with Las Vegas's New Year's celebrations.
So your conclusion was, a day or two or three before New Year's Eve, that the threat wasn't that hard?
Well, it wasn't specific enough to me as to time, method, or place for me to make the call to say, let's cancel this New Year's Eve celebration.
It was too vague.
Too vague.
Long after the celebrations were over, Stephen Sprouse and Kristen Douglas received the disquieting news that they had been swept up in that FBI data dragnet.
I found out afterwards. that all the hotel records were collected. What went through your head when you heard that?
They have no reason to be looking at me. I don't think that I've done anything to raise any suspicion. So, I mean, just being in Las Vegas on New Year's shouldn't be enough for them to say, well, you know, she might be a terrorist.
I just tell people that we made every effort to safeguard the privacy of everyone whose records were accessed. There was no breach. The information was closely
I don't like this lady.
Safeguarded.
She's
The
annoying.
FBI says it held all the data from Vegas for more than 2 years, but has now destroyed it all.
I work with data. I mean, you know, if it's on the computer, it's not really ever gone. It's on a tape, it's on a backup, it's on a drive somewhere.
A more fundamental concern confronts us all. The Fourth Amendment protects us against unreasonable search and seizure without probable cause. So does the strategy of prevention collide with the Constitution?
The government is doing this kind of data mining. Has it moved from individualized suspicion, getting an individual warrant, to generalized suspicion to check everybody to find out who are the bad guys?
Yeah, check everybody. Everybody's a suspect. Everybody's phone records,
Yep.
everybody's email is subject to government scrutiny. And if you're good, we won't bother you. And if you look a little strange, then you might get on a watch list.
Isn't that a huge change in Anglo-Saxon law? I mean, Anglo-Saxon law is based on get a warrant. The Fourth Amendment is based on individual suspicion.
General warrant was part of the reason
White
for the
law.
American Revolution. It was that the king's agent could go in and search a house everywhere, search a whole neighborhood with one warrant. And the Boston people said, we don't like that. We'll have a tea party. We'll fight you. We said no.
Look, there's no doubt that there are important Fourth Amendment issues here. One is this a reasonable search and seizure? You can still have warrantless searches, but they have to be reasonable. And then the second question is, does that restriction apply to wartime operations? We don't require warrant, we don't require reasonable searches and seizures when the army, the military is out on a battlefield attacking, killing members of the enemy.
But that's usually abroad, and it doesn't involve American homeland and American citizens.
But this gets to my point is, do you want to make it more difficult for our government to try to stop terrorist attacks? The closer that members of Al-Qaeda get to the United States, the closer they get to striking our cities as they did on 9/11, you want to make it more legally difficult for the government to stop that? I don't think so.
In our tradition of law, there is this idea that there is private space around the individual, you know, the individual's home, their papers, as it says in the Constitution, that there is a sphere around you that the government can't come into without meeting this level of suspicion. And what I see in all of these developments is the sphere is getting smaller and smaller. You know, we're allowing access to much more information so that maybe the government can't come into that sphere, but they can go all the way around it. They can get the contours, the outlines of your daily life through a lot of this information that isn't protected as well. And I think that's what's eroding.
So many people in America think this does not affect them. They've been convinced that these programs are only targeted at suspected terrorists. I'm not engaged in any terrorist activities, therefore, this does not concern me. There's no way in which I'm going to be caught up in this activity.
And you think that's wrong?
And I think that's wrong. I think that, as I said, I think our technology is not perfect, our programs are not perfect, and it is inevitable that totally innocent Americans are going to be affected by these programs.
It seems to be like the beginning of we're going to treat everyone like a bad guy to begin with, knowing that most of them are not bad guys. But we're going to start with the assumption that everybody's a bad guy. And then if we just collect the right stuff and connect the right dots, we'll find the real bad guys.
Did you find any terrorists?
No, we didn't.
Nope.
So when you got to the bottom of it, you found nothing?
Which was on about the 29th of December. We had gone through everything, and we had no identifiable, no known terrorists or terrorist associates.
Later we learned that, in fact, the original intelligence warning about Las Vegas was mistaken. In decoding a suspected Al-Qaeda message, someone got it wrong.
Or they just lied. What's more likely? The lie or them getting it wrong?
Next time on Frontline.
He's been so vehemently anti-gay.
A conservative mayor.
And now we find him in gay.com.
An aggressive newspaper.
What if he's using the internet to have sex with underage boys?
And a story that took apart a man's life.
The worst thing you can say about somebody is that they're a sexual predator. How do you refute that?
Frontline examines the conflict between the public interest and a hidden life. Next time on Frontline.
That sounds good.
To order Frontline's Spying on the Home Front on DVD.
Spying on the Home Front. No. Okay, so gonna switch over. Oh, damn, is it that late already? Yeah. Who's that? Load worms. Damn it. It'll be fun when what's it called once human hits. I'm excited for that one. I keep thinking about buying it and all that. Okay, I'm gonna log and play some New World now. Been going for about 7 hours. Yeah, and I will switch games. Yeah, seems good to me. All the gamut of games done, and so gonna change to New World now. Really wish New World was on my drive, but it's not. Oh, there was a patch, 41 gig patch. No. No way. Are you patching for 40 gigs? There's no fucking way. Really? No. Okay, that was all the silver, huh? Yeah, too cool. I got like 40, 50k in silver. Oops, black screen, sorry. So, yeah, loading New World. Oh no, New World is patching, is it? Damn it. Well, I didn't know it was going to do that. Fucking annoying. My desire to play New Mortal is reduced. Could play Chernobylite. Stalker 2 is going to be good. Gonna find something else to watch while I wait for this fucking patch. Maybe I should just go back to Fallout then if it's gonna. Yeah, if you're gonna patch for 40 fucking gigs or whatever. What do you mean 40 gigs? It's just some patch, but you're like reinstalling the entire client or something dumb. Yeah, so we'll go. Oh yeah, this yeah, maybe they. Or I don't know, maybe they let you play it still. Oh yeah, purchase. So I can purchase once human? Oh no, yeah. Yeah, I do want to purchase once human. Check out the full game, yeah. But is it out yet though? Avatar Frontiers of Pandora for 42. Age of Wonders. Red Solstice 2 Survivors. Well, I am trying to look at once human. You say it is free. July 9th. Yep, in approximately 2 weeks. Okay, cool. This will be a good game. I'm excited about that. There's something good to watch.
Everybody, welcome to the newest episode of Some Ordinary Podcast. Episode
Thank you,
406.
Some Ordinary Podcast for the excellent content from my stream. I'd like to sub to your channel.
77. Oh my God, Caleb, you're here for the intro. We're in the intro. You are technically here for
Yes,
the
sir.
Yo, Caleb, take it from here. You do the intro. 476.
We're on episode with Turkey Tom, our good friend.
I don't think we've ever been on an episode together, Tom.
Wait, what? He's been here like 3 times.
I honestly can't remember. We may have.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't remember either.
I am a new guy. In fairness, if you met me before, I'm different now. As you can see, I've reformed my previous beliefs.
You and Shrek too.
I love how you're just so unfiltered, dude. Like Pride Month, of course, you're the one guy I expect with the hammer sickle.
Yeah, well, in Praise of Shadows made a good video calling us all out, and I realized the error of my ways, and so I decided to come out.
You're such an anti-Nazi now.
Well, I mean, truly I am. I mean, I feel like we were fucking up, Wendigoon is the cause of January 6th, and as a result of that, I've decided to renounce my ways, and here I am. This is why I am the way I am.
Putting his
reformed man
in booty the way God intended.
Exactly. I'm putting the gun down and putting my guy's ass, and that's the way we're gonna do it from now on. That's the way we're gonna do it.
Let's go, man.
Nice.
That's the definition of based.
Have you given away money yet, or is that part of socialism? Not like whatever.
Money?
Or are you like a Hassan socialist?
That's not.
We don't make. We're YouTubers. We don't make money. We don't make money. We're YouTubers. What are you talking about? We're broke, bro.
Oh right, yeah.
We're starving.
We're starving artists. Yes, we're starving artists.
The kind of content we cover, yellow dollared all the way, dude. Like later tonight, I get to cover Heel Mike. I know that video is gonna get ass in the outro.
I love that guy.
Just like Tom.
Bro, I cannot imagine, yesterday, so, for anybody that doesn't know, John Zerka, I guess the best way to describe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Caleb, because I know you covered Zerka more than I have, is the best description of Zerka just unhinged nutjob? That's the most accurate description, right?
I would say if you are 6'4" and you've never...
I'm 6'4".
Never really worried about people.
Yeah, I've never worried about people.
Feel invincible. And
Yeah. Yep.
Do coke every morning.
Yeah, no. But I drink Bang Energy drink every day.
And you have some kind of
Which is 300 milligrams of caffeine. I don't drink a whole thing, though. I drink 1/3 of a can every day. But no, I don't do cocaine, no. Cocaine is for losers. Oh. I'm just kidding. I don't care about cocaine. I think it's fun.
Developmental disability in your brain. I would say that's a good description of John Zerka. And then falling in with a really
That sounds
baller, to
that
be
sounds
honest.
like a 6'A". What the? I'm not 6'4". I'm not retarded. I don't do coke. Can we go there? How do I get this?
Yeah.
How do I get this swag?
Yeah, it's a John Zerka life, and he.
Do you think cocaine ruined John Zerka?
I think he talks about cocaine a lot. I believe.
I think John Zerka ruined cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
He thinks the world's flat.
The cocaine fan base has become so cringe lately, but honestly, 2 years ago when it was kind of in beta, it was pretty fire. It was pretty fire.
When cocaine was in beta?
Yeah. There's all this other DLC now. We got this Fent DLC, and I'm just not about it. But you're right. He does think the world is flat, and he's right. I don't know if any of you guys are globetards, but I'm educated. And the Earth is undoubtedly very flat.
I'm definitely a flat earther, so I know globetard, dude.
Yeah, us flat earthers are all around the world.
Yes.
You go back to the Zerka shit. So Zerka, best described as a coke adult. He's 6'4".
I think he seems tall.
Yeah, he's around there. Yeah, he's in the upper echelon.
Wild, dude. So 6'4".
The upper echelon.
Dude, he's
What does that mean?
Dude, he's height maxed.
Oh my God, I didn't see the 697 million.
Yeah,
Jesus.
true. So yeah, John Zerka, I'll give him credit. He is a funny guy. I'll watch clips of him for here and there where he'll get a laugh out of me for sure. But so this latest escapade did not get a laugh out of anyone. So anybody that doesn't know, they're streamed to kick.com, which is it's a great website. Not enough. If you ever worried about the TOS on YouTube or Twitch, well, this is a website just for you, pal. Fucking go buck wild on here. So they're streaming, and I believe they're at a club and shit, or like just outside. They're doing the IRL stream bit, and these girls come up, and they're asking for IDs, and they eventually like they stop giving a. These girls don't have identification, and now they've been caught, possibly engaged with a minor, and Kick has banned them for it. They've actually put down a zero pedo policy.
Old Zerka loves. He does the pedo bit a lot. Like he talks about being a pedo all the time. Have you seen that, Muda?
Oh yeah, I've seen the clips of him go. Like I've seen the tweets of him, like the Mario, like when he's dressed up as Mario and shit. It's like I'm a pedophile, and I'm like, what is the joke? Like, what's the joke there? That
it's not a joke.
Kids or something?
It's just truth.
I don't know. When someone makes the same joke that many times, it's like, I don't know.
It's like if you're it's like if he's calling him that, can we just like legally call him that too? Like we don't have legal repercussions if we call him that. Like that's what he self-identifies as.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't think he's gonna.
I don't think he'd be upset. I think he'd probably wake up with a smile on his face if he found out Mudahar called him a pedophile. To be honest, I don't think he would cry about it too much.
I mean, I just want to be truthful about it, dude. Like I don't want to give him the EDP 445 credentials. Like he hasn't actually,
self-described pedophile.
Yeah, like a self-identified pedo-adjacent character. So
pedo-adjacent.
Dude, it's like every time I hear that, I think of Bosch defending pedophilia like 400 different times. It's like, oh, they're all coincidences and out of context. Yeah, all right, dude.
I just love that. That's like the In Praise of Shadow Nazi shit. It's like just call somebody like a Nazi or something. It's like no, they're just adjacent, dude. It's like you can just slander somebody without ever.
Nazi adjacent.
He didn't even go to the adjacent. He didn't even go anywhere near adjacent. He's like Brandon Buckingham, the man who has been called to threat.
He's been called to threat rape.
Didn't he say that?
I think he said threat, but I like the idea of threat. That's good.
Yeah,
just to make this video monetized.
No.
Look, he's look, In Praise of Shadows is what it is. He's changed his ways. I mean, he got Tom converted to like communism or socialism, whatever the hammer and sickle means.
All the above, my friend. All the above. I mean, the thing about Kick is they've had problems like this for a while now with like predatory people. I don't know if it's like a Kick thing or if it's just because like they allow more raunchy content. But there were a few people like who was the guy that got exposed by something about chickens? I think his name was Riot Lol. Remember that guy? He was being weird. There's another guy named Derek Graz who was doing the same thing.
More than weird, like he would solicit photos from minors and then post them in his Discord server for everyone to.
So like this is like a consistent problem with Kick, it seems, and it's certainly not helping their brand image, it seems. So I mean, you can speculate on why they did it. Maybe they did it out of the goodness of their hearts. Maybe they did it just because they're like, this is just bad PR for us. But I don't know how many big streamers Kick realistically has. Like, I wonder. Well, I'm just gonna go on Kick.com and see what comes up when I go there. Like, how many? Cause I don't really care.
Was it really super bad PR? Because they weren't even trending that hard on Twitter.
Well, it's gonna be covered on political and people like that. Like, it is bad PR. The problem that they have, I think, is what they need is like the average internet person to want to go to Kick and actually use their fucking service, right? That's what they need.
So I was talking to Kick people, and they were telling me that like they want to do baby steps and become the new Twitch. They don't think they'll become the new Twitch overnight, but they want to baby steps. They just offer streamers better shit. But the issue is, why would someone go to Kick if they can just stream on Twitch instead?
Well, because there's that much space. That's the
thing. So right now, the greatest incentive is either money, because they gave me a contract, so that's what I'm going to do.
It's like, how do you even like escape that? It's like, remember a while back, OnlyFans was doing that thing where it was like, we're gonna get rid of like adult content or like severely diminish it, and we're gonna replace it with like other paid-for content. Like they were pushing like cooking videos and shit like that.
Was that OnlyFans?
Yeah, that was
or
OF.
was that Patreon?
No, that was OF.
What?
OF was going at it. So it's like,
there's no way.
Like you build your whole platform around showing your foot on the internet, and then it's like you're gonna basically take away the principal component of your site when you're starting to get bigger. Because I think for them they wanted to be more brand friendly. Like they probably wanted an app on like the App Store or something, and you can't do that with like where OnlyFans is right now. Surprisingly, you can't do it with OnlyFans, but you can have like a Twitter app. Even though I've seen more on Twitter than any other online like social media service in the last year. So they probably wanted to get like super duper brand friendly. They were like, maybe it's time to cut the adult cord and call it a day. and then everyone was like, "What are you doing?" Same's gonna happen to Kick, right? Like Kick will probably want to transition to like being the next Twitch, like more normie friendly. But then you're gonna have people who basically created the website, like started the website, and they're just gonna say, "What's the point of this? Why did we even come here if you're just gonna turn into like this Twitch level of TOS moderation?" You know?
It seems to me like
it's like all the sites that counter YouTube. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it seems to me like the only reason that Kick and Rumble exist right now is because there's like there's a group of people that don't like Twitch because of their policies, which is a very valid complaint, right? Because Twitch has had a lot of inconsistent bans.
Because Twitch
it does suck.
I think that it's the favoritism that really sucks the most, right?
It's favoritism, yeah. It's I mean, just for example, I'll rep my goat Destiny. I mean, he was banned for making kind of a saucy joke back in the day, and well, at least that's what he thinks. We don't totally know. And yet, like Hassan Piker is allowed to be on Twitch and like laugh at cops dying, and make crazy jokes about how various groups of people should be suffering. And like I think it's fine that Hassan does that. I think it's funny, but to ban Destiny and keep Hassan is ridiculous. But I think it's clearly a favoritism thing, because I think at the moment Hassan is in the good graces of the media, journalists, and being very far left is liked right now. And so Twitch is just kind of going along with what they think the population wants them to do. But unfortunately, over time,
he made that one tweet, right? Like that one tweet Hassan made where he showcased the Japanese homemade shotgun towards politician, and it's like, man, imagine if like Nick Fuentes made that to like some Dem or whatever,
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine the outrage right there.
But it's like
so clearly,
it's like right now that just the left has the institutional power. I think, and maybe that will go away. I don't want the right to have the institutional power. I don't think either of them having that is good. I think ultimately what should happen is there are just people at the heads of these companies who are concerned with. We have a bare set of rules. This is what you can't do. You can't like encourage violence. You can't threaten violence. You can't be a pedophile. And beyond that, I think most content should be allowed to exist. And unfortunately, that's just not the way it is right now. And because of Twitch's inconsistent policies with banning, I mean, there's like a culture on Twitch, as I'm sure you guys know, where getting banned can be a good thing, because you get banned for doing something funny, it goes viral.
It's advertised.
Yeah, and then you come back and you're fine.
Sure.
Like there was a girl who literally had sex on Twitch. She got banned for like a few days.
Yep, she had sex
and
on
came back
stream,
and was even more
3-day
popular.
ban.
It's ridiculous. Like that's not even like towing the line. That's just pornography. Like that's what that is.
See, but the thing is, Twitch knows that their big edge against YouTube is that they have like that is their big edge against YouTube.
Does YouTube not have stuff like that? Do they not have stuff like that?
I don't think so.
Look up naked yoga.
Yeah, I'm familiar with naked yoga, but not the live stream naked yoga
Yeah,
meta.
it's
That
not
does
interactive.
exist yet.
It's not interactive.
have you checked YouTube
Yeah.
Live? Like, is there no just chatting for YouTube Live even?
Not really.
Is
There
it
no
explicitly
well, first
against
of all, there's
TOS?
basically no way to browse live streams. It's terrible, the formatting. But also,
Yeah, but I'm streaming to YouTube just so I can say that I stream to YouTube. I don't ever expect to get. I'm very surprised when I see traffic on YouTube video. I'm like, okay, cool, because I don't think YouTube does anything to fucking protect me or not protect me, but try to get me like on a list that people can at least see. I don't think they even do that. So like, I'm very surprised when I see somebody on YouTube. I'm like, awesome. How did you find me? I'm surprised when they're there. I'm not disappointed when they're not there. I feel the same way about Twitch. I don't get sad when there's nobody in the channel. I don't care, because it's still me practicing my my trade. And I don't care if somebody's in the channel or not. I'm still going to keep entertaining people, or at least just running, like at least some entertainment,
Good whammon that you could talk to and give money to and interact with.
Yeah.
They market the. Except the thing is, they want to also still remain on the App Store. They want to be on every home screen of every smart TV in America, and so they label themselves as a 13+ site. However,
yeah.
Ironically.
Yeah, I'm actually on YouTube Live right now, and it's just like, it's totally disorganized.
It's news
it looks like
and
shit. I don't know. I don't know why they're not
Gamers.
putting more effort or time into this, because I feel like with people like, didn't Aisha Speed blow up from streaming on YouTube? I'm pretty sure he did, right?
Yeah.
I feel like they should be putting more thought into this.
But the thing with iShow Speed is like the YouTube is
he blew up through
successful
clips.
here. Yeah. YouTube
Right?
is
You look through
successful if you're
clips.
like a big streamer, anyways. You know, like if you and I, like if all of us started streaming on our channels, we do fine. But if you're like somebody brand new, like
Yep.
just started on YouTube as a
Yep.
streamer, I doubt you would like
Tough to
ever.
grow.
Yeah, you would
Tough to grow.
Oh yeah, like you see, and even they're saying it. I don't get worried about it. I'm like, yeah, if I'm okay, if I'm entertaining, if I can just keep going, if I can keep at it, keep new games running in the roster, and just be there for 50 years. I don't care if it's hard to break in. I don't care if it takes 10, 20 years. I don't care. And I don't care if I break in either. I just sort of like, I'm like, why not get some recognition? I think that'd be fun, getting recognition.
You'd have to pull your tits out for sure.
I never got it my whole life. It'd be fun to get it now, you know? And it'd be okay if not, you know? I spent 8 years one time being a lead singer. Went nowhere. Absolutely the fuck nowhere. I don't even have a copy of my own album anymore. I don't care. And I felt good about doing it. I have no regrets.
Requires you to use like every like other format. Like for the longest times they pulled like shorts out of the ass, and then like I think it was just like the other month I was seeing people who were like, yeah, the shorts are great if you want to build your viewer base, but like nobody ends up watching the long-term content or long-form content if they come from your
Dude,
shorts.
you have Master Uguay on shorts. He's mastered it. You put the same reaction to everything, and then you say Hitler is my N-word, and then you're really
The guy
lost
has so
the
much
house.
swag, bro. You gotta turn the up.
Dude,
so successful.
Dude, you know that guy, like, everyone's been, like, shitting on it, but, like, every time I watch the Master Uguay stuff, I'm like, this is just such a
what?
blatant, like, troll, like...
It's too boring to be mad at.
Yeah, like
I wanted to cover it, and then I was just too bored to cover it. I was like, oh, so it's just nothing. Every single one of his videos is nothing.
Yeah.
Like, he'll make a video titled, My Opinion About the LGBT. And then, like, it'll just play, like, the phone sound effects. as he mouths words. So, and he did that, like, 40 times. With my opinion on black people. And he does the same shtick again.
Jesus Christ. No, but, yeah, going to, like, just, I don't know, I kind of hate the fact that there's like such an institutional power from like one end of the spectrum that like runs these sites, because like Tom, you said, it's like the best that these sites can do is like kind of have like the 10 commandment rule, where it's like you just have like a few rules, like don't preach violence, don't upload like straight up pornography, and I think people know exactly what we're talking about when we say that. And you know, just basic set of rules, and I think like YouTube would be a greater platform, because I feel like anytime like we think of covering like edgier stuff, I don't know about you guys, but I always think about like, man, the strikes are gonna suck from this. Like, I hate thinking about that. Like, I want to cover a lot of other shit. Like, I want to cover some darker stuff, but then I think about like, not so much the demonetization, it's just the strikes that YouTube does. Like, they'll hand it out, and then it's like, well, you were caught promoting like, even for like computer viruses. Like, this one video recently I covered like computer malware on. They fixed it in the background, but like, I was covering like a computer virus, and they were like, well, we're gonna have to like age restrict your video or like demonetize it because you're promoting like dangerous software. And I'm like, what the f are you talking about? Like, in the video, blatantly, like you could AI transcript and realize that I said millions of times this is wrong, I don't condone this, and yet they still just decide to throw the hit on you.
I feel like also the DMCA bots on YouTube make it much harder. Like on Twitch or whatever, you could listen to whatever music you want, you'll be fine. And you could react to whatever you want, and you'll be fine. Like, for example, if there's a 3-second clip from an anime that pops up, YouTube isn't just going to take down your stream in middle of the stream.
I stream quite a bit on YouTube, and that's like, I found that's pretty rare. That has happened to me like once or twice, where they'll DMCA the stream.
Yeah, but you don't talk about anime.
Yeah.
Why would I talk about anime? But
I'm just giving you a
I would never talk about anime.
Okay.
What I do is I'll play music, like fully copyrighted music that's like in a label, in a system, and it only gets claimed after I'm not.
Anchorish
By that point,
Ace.
I don't really
What
give
is
a fuck,
that?
right? I'm just trying to make money on donos. So in that way, I generally, I don't care that much. The
What
thing
is
that I
that?
find interesting is I've been reading a lot. Since I'm reading,
What
I've
kind
been
of
doing a
gun
lot of
is
research into like Twitch stuff lately for some videos I'm doing. Yeah, lots of Wikipedia. And I've kind of found that I think the appeal to Twitch, like all these people we know
10
that are
million.
popular,
Oh, it's a.
I don't think
Oh,
they
yeah.
would have ever
Okay.
been popular if Twitch allowed video. The reason why being that Twitch is such a community, right? There's such a insular thing to Twitch, to live streaming, and because it's live, part of the appeal comes from interacting with other streamers and having this person on your stream, and like, oh, you raid this person, and oh, you're gifting subs from this bigger streamer. Like, it's such an incestuous thing.
It's a Real Housewives kind of.
Sure, but like it's great. Like I've been watching it, I'm like, this is good. And I think what YouTube might need is just like a separate, like dedicated site. Like imagine how quickly YouTube streaming would blow everything out of the water if they just made a separate site with like a nice dark mode and a nice UI that was just for streaming.
Yep.
And like fixed like chat shit, like had all the rewards that everybody on Twitch has.
Yep.
That would be insane.
I've been
Yeah, I feel the same.
saying if YouTube has like right next to the magnifying glass, you know, the search thing on your search bar on YouTube, if right next to that they had a little button that said live, and you pushed that, and then the UI would change to like a Twitch UI, Twitch would be dead.
You know, if Hub can have the option of like clicking the logo and turning it into Gay Hub, YouTube should have the ability to click the logo and turn it into a live hub. Like,
How do you know about that, Muda?
Huh?
How do you know about that? I just learned about that from you.
Oh,
Hey,
no,
Crazy
dude,
Shadows
bro.
told me he had to.
Where'd you find that at?
Praise of Shadows literally was telling me I should open up my horizon, so I've been cranking it to gate the last few days, dude.
Cranking it.
Yeah,
Let's go, dude.
I was actually hired as the software developer over at Gay Hub, and we've been doing a lot of cool
Yeah,
stuff.
really?
We have a live website, so if you guys want to go check it out, check out gayhub.net.
Could you imagine like if somebody who's like,
I
man,
hear after Pokemane's editor quit, he took a main job.
I did.
working there.
It's we actually got the .gov domain, so gayhub.gov.
dude, is there any like update to the Pokemon editor? Like, does that person come out and say anything?
I hired him.
She lied to everyone.
He's not part of my team.
Yeah.
She lied about
No,
Caleb.
it's like
Caleb was the editor.
I'm gooning.
What are you gooning?
Dude, I cannot.
I'm going
Anyways.
to Poke.
No, but you saw the you saw her follow-up tweet. When I said that he was gooning to me, I didn't really mean to me. I just meant that he had a
Wait.
Work.
Did she actually say that?
What? No one's talking about that. I hate all of you that have covered this
Wait,
and talked about this. No, she lied
Well,
to
we're probably all
everyone.
blocked.
She got an
So,
Oh,
wait, let me check
I'm not
out
blocked.
her.
I'm still followed.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not blocked. It's on Iman.
Oh, it's on her
Oh,
second
I'm not-
Twitter.
Where she, on her second Twitter, she says, there was a little misunderstanding. When I said that he was gooning to me, what I actually meant was he has an addiction. And it's like, that's a whole different story, man.
That's a good
Yeah,
pitchfork.
so she just added the guy who's like gooning addiction. That's
Yeah. After the editor kicked himself out of shade, she felt like clearing.
She also said that it was years ago.
Yeah.
So
In
why?
that same
Wait,
tweet.
that even stood out. Why is it even like? Why
It doesn't
is
have enough
bro?
damage.
That's what I'm saying. It's a crazy clippable tweet. It's so clippable, and everyone talked about it, as you know. And she had just wanted to clear the air real quick by saying, "Oh yeah, that thing that I said that happened that went viral. That didn't actually
Wait,
happen."
okay, she did literally say in the clip, she's like touching herself to me.
She says to me, my
and I'm his
footage."
employer.
That's her. Yes. And then she goes on this whole thing that's inappropriate to do about a deploy, and then none of that.
He
was
said
true.
this
It's
to
just
me,
not
but didn't
right.
directly say it was
Didn't
about me. Either way, convo ended in working relationship. Wait, but that's she lied. She lied, bro.
Yeah, dude.
What
Oh
the
my God,
fuck?
you're the first guy that's saying
I
it.
didn't see this tweet. Why the fuck would I follow Emain? Why would I ever follow this
Dude,
account?
this is what I hate. Like, I always hate like secondary Twitter accounts. Like, keep one account. I'm not gonna.
Unless you dream, in which case you have a whole ecosystem of alt accounts.
They're all just talking to each other. That's awesome.
Yeah, sure.
I can't even with those dream stands, dude. The most insane shit. No, but like, it's like, dude, just have one central account. Stop this parasocial bullshit. Stop trying to hide. It's like recently, like this Anissa stuff came out. Like, I don't know if you've been following like this Anissa.
Yeah.
My queen.
Her like, she recently started streaming again, and she was like, these commentary YouTubers need to understand that, like, you know, if they had a job or some shit, they would like die immediately. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
why?
like you.
Why is having a job such a cross to bear? Like, this is what I don't understand about like the creator clash bullshit. Like, research. So I'm thinking that they're gearing up for Creator Clash 3 to be announced soon. So this is why, like, you know, they're starting to stream again, more of the limelight. And I'm just wondering, like, why they're even trying again. Like, dude, the first, like, Creator Clash 2 was such a abysmal failure that you gotta like, how is it that people can run a charity event and not raise a single dime for charity, and then think that they're somehow intelligent that they should be doing this? Like, even at least with the completionist, like, he raised money. Sure, that money never went anywhere until it was called out, but at least the money was sent over.
I don't know. I think that completionist is way worse.
No, the money that he raised eventually went. The money raised here went to galas and processing trauma and
I don't
shit,
know, man.
dude.
I think completionist is way worse. Bro actually, seemingly, from what I understand, committed a crime. They were just incredibly sucky at raising money. That is not the same.
No.
One is incompetent and one is malicious.
You know what I think about like Creator Clash? I think it's a perfect example of like what Tom was saying about like the Twitch group meme crowd.
Yeah.
Because that's literally all it is. It's like it's an entire event where they had like what was it, like 4 galas or something, 4 parties after the fact to like process their like trauma, have some fun time. It's like all that money that was being raised for charity. And you gotta imagine, right? Like running a party of that size with open bars, multiple each party alone, it's gonna set you back.
I mean, they also
tens
were
of thousands
flying
of dollars.
people out. They rented out the hotel for an extra day. Remember they said that? Like, it's just very dumb. It seems to me like Alldayerrydaybaby and Anissa, they wanted to ingratiate themselves with like a new group of people, new friend group of connections, and it seems like that community was maybe like the Twitch poggers community, people like that. That's kind of my impression. So they flew a bunch of people out and they spent a bunch of money on bullshit they didn't need to spend money on. And they wanted to live like the fun, the fun East-Celeb lifestyle. They thought, I'm here now, I'm the big shot, I get to do that. But in that, I think they lost sight of the fact that they were supposed to be raising money for charity, not raising money to have fun at the hotel,
I mean, it's like also the whole what's that, the award shows, like the streamer awards, where it's just like a bunch of friends get together and give each
I
other
cannot
awards.
stand that shit, bro. Yeah, they give awards to like the least popular
Like, I didn't
people
see Aiden
ever.
Ross win any awards, okay? Why didn't Aiden Ross
Because
win
he's
an
not
award,
friends with
all
them.
right?
That's
Listen,
why.
he may be as dumb as bricks, but he was a successful
win the
streamer.
awards there?
I don't know.
I don't know, probably.
I think he is friends with those
I mean,
guys.
for all of my times that I've tussled with XCC, like he is by far one of the more entertaining and popular streamers out there. Like I don't go what anyone says. He is when he can be entertaining. He can be very entertaining and funny.
He's entertaining, dude.
I don't understand how that. Yeah.
I like SKC.
It is like
Got no issue with him. I have a close friend who I don't talk to anymore. So not close, but I had a close friend who was very much like XQC. Same mannerism, same corner of the world, same accent, all that stuff. I have no problem with French Canadian people and them playing video games and being a streamer and all that. I have no issue with it. Whatever. I think America did.
2 years in a row. I thought that was pretty funny.
2 years in a row.
And I was curious, like, who is like an up and comer? Like, how many viewers is she getting consistently? So I go to view stats. Actually, I'll go to its Twitch tracker, right? And you look up Frogan, because I'm just like, okay, I'm curious. How many viewers is she getting? She's averaging 300 viewers.
Hey, she improved.
This person is winning, like, up and comer. Like, seriously, like, this is it's ridiculous. She streamed 20 hours in the last week. In the last month, she's only streamed 90 hours. Like, it's not even a job for this person.
It's not so bad, all right? It's not terrible.
No, bro.
If streaming's your full-time job, you better be at 300 hours a month.
I'm at 405, something like that. I believe I'm at 105. I'm at like 405. It's an average of like 405. I'm not streaming that much right now as I was, because I took a small break when I was playing a lot of Rust and I just was recording. But I mean, like, when I don't play non-consensual, where I can't be where I can't be harassed or whatever, I'm okay to be streaming. I'm okay to do it. I don't want harassment live in a real time. But I mean, like, I'm okay to just stream like this every day. I think I always have been.
Okay, listen, that's why she's broke. But everyone has to start somewhere.
But like, what I'm saying is, like, with these friend groups, they reward themselves.
Oh my god, dude. I'm just noticing. Look, if you look at her Twitch tracker, I don't know. About once a week, she gets a raid of like 5,000 people.
From what, Hassan?
I wonder who that could be.
It's Hassan.
Look, it could be anyone. It could be literally anyone.
I mean, it's Asmongold.
Like, you look at it's incredibly.
So I guess what I was trying to say with the whole octopus murders thing is, and this recalled me to it. Danny, R.I.P. Danny, we will never forget. Right? We had an Alexei Navalny in America, and our Alexei Navalny was Danny Casolaro. We've had one here. We've had a journalist here that was murdered by the government.
Viewers are.
That's what I was trying to get up with all of that.
Because her average stream has 100, except once a week she has like 4,000 max viewers because she got a big raid.
don't want to sound like this is like a punching down. Like viewers are really the most important thing. Like it's just like the thing that is being like talked about is ultimately a sign of nepotism. Like it's a group where, you know, there's a lot of other people that I think are deserving of rising stars. You know, like obviously, how do you win the award 2 times? Did she win it twice in a year?
She did. So 2 times. It was year after year. Yeah. I mean, the thing.
I don't know if
the
she
thing that,
won. I don't think
No,
she
won a rising streamer or whatever.
Oh, yeah?
Up and coming, up and
Hell
coming.
yeah.
But the frustrating thing about it is like the thing that everybody in YouTube or whatever hates, and the reason why TV is dying is like nepotism, lack of meritocracy, like institutional cringe, right? Just like a bunch of people who are ripping each other off. And the same now applies to Twitch culture, where they run their little fucking galas and events, and they invite all their personal friends, and their personal friends win, and anybody who doesn't fit into that little formula is excluded instead of it being based on meritocracy. And that's just the mode they're on. And I think that's part of why